go. And Rumble is kicked off. And welcome to a gaming conversation with friends. I'm stubzgaming. I'm back once again with the Renegade Master.
Hey.
We are back again after a great show last week. We always have a good show here over on the podcast. We always like to go. But we ended up on, if any of you didn't catch it last week, we ended up on, because Luke's going to Japan and talking about Japanese cuisine. That's how we ended up on speaking about last week. So we always go wherever we want to. Although if you don't know this podcast, although it does say a gaming conversation with friends, if we want to take it a different direction or it comes up in conversation, we will. Just so you know.
It's more conversation with friends, really, isn't it?
It really is, but there's a lot.
Is the highlight, but it deviates pretty quickly.
It's hard to change it to that because there is stuff called that. That's why I haven't pulled it.
Well, I think the majority of it is gaming. It is. It's not it's not a bad thing. It's just that it deviates.
Oh yeah. Just warning people that may be new to the show. So, and welcome back, Removable Sanity. How you've just heard there. It help explain.
I try my best. Thank you very much for having. And it's also great to have Masuku back on, the man, the legend, and the very tall person if you've met him in real life.
So, how many feet are you, Masuku? Officially,
sorry.
How many feet are you?
I think I'm. Is it 6'2"? What do you say in America?
I'm taller than you. I had it confirmed in hospital. I'm 6'3".
Okay.
Yeah, but now you've broken your leg a few times. That's going to be coming down to 6'1".
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I kept telling people for ages I was 6'4". And I said to them, no, it's not. Am I really 6'3"? Yeah, I've been telling people for years I'm 6. I'll just keep telling people you're 6'4" then. I didn't really know, but no, it's tall. It is tall. It is. But yeah, welcome Masuko. Welcome back to the show.
I'm very happy to be back here, and let's see where do we wander in this podcast this time.
We will have to see.
Yeah.
We will. And welcome back, Viewpoint Gaming. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to the show. Just to echo what my friend Removable said. It's nice to have Masuko back on. Part of the family, shall we say?
Definitely. Well, to be honest, he's actually, he may as well be like full time. But I know Masuku can't commit to doing full time. But whenever he's on, he lets me know. He sends a signal out. Yes. He does.
Yes, exactly.
All 62 of it.
Welcome to Fimber in chat. Thanks for popping in, mate, over on YouTube chat. If you're ever on Rumble, say hello. As we're streaming on there as well. I just put some footage of Baltro on, if I'm saying it wrong. Baltro, the card game. They've just hit a milestone. They've hit 1 million sales, which is incredible for a one-man indie game. Roguelike card game. It's an incredible number to hit 1 million sales, downloads. That's an incredible number for a one-person developer to hit. Because it's going to iOS as well. It's going on phones. So it should go even higher. But yeah, it's well done to the developers on that milestone. Many developers never see it. They don't. So they've done really well there. I've not played it in a few weeks actually. I haven't. And Fimber in chat, I know he likes the game because he was gifted it by Scott, aka SX2. Good man. He's been liking that. And I'll tell you what, one thing that we needed to get Masuku's takes on, and if anyone wants to bring up takes, we spoke about it a lot last week, but I had to get Masuku's thoughts on the popular and highly anticipated game on especially this podcast. No rest for the wicked. Have you got any thoughts? You can finally let it out in the microphone now. You can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he hates it.
No, I think it looks very promising. The thing that is, the previous games have been very beautiful. But I think that they have really taken like a next step with this. When the game is more like 2D, I know that game is not technically fully 2D game, but it has like these 2.5 and
Yeah,
like
2.5D, isn't it? Is what they're saying.
yeah. But I think that always when you take this kind of wider and different kind of aspect, it brings like these kind of difficulties with the art. How like especially in this kind of game when it's very dark and there's like high contrast, how to make it like easily readable. And I think that they really have like talented artists at that company, and they have a lot of technical knowledge. Like,
Well, it's from their
it's
previous games,
pretty.
isn't it? They've learned that high contrast art style and how to gauge it in terms of lighting and shadow, and how they've got the very dark blacks and the very brightest lights, and how they've worked already. They've gone through that process, so now it's just a more of a refinement, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because you can see it's the same with a similar art style. It's just it's as you said, it's more 3D and it's much more. I'd probably push it as crisper. It's probably a bad terminology, but just seems a little crisper to me.
Yeah, it is. And like the devs were talking that they really like this oil painterly look, like going for more to the 15th century, like classical painting style. And I think that they are really good in this department. And well, like I think I have mentioned before, like I haven't tried this previous games like Ori, like but what I have heard that they are really good in the game side of the
Well, I think
like
the mechanics are pretty well good, but also their visuals. I think that was one of the things that kind of sold it a little bit. Was a lot of people was wowed by the visuals, and then obviously the gameplay and the control of the accuracy was also exceptionally well done. And then obviously then they did the second one, and that just embellished it even further, to the point. So this is kind of a community, a combat, not a combat simulation, VJ will probably get me here. It's cumulative. Is it cumulative? Of their talents into this game, and so it's like you're kind of like, well, this is what were they thinking about doing next? And so now clearly this was it's kind of a bit of a shock for a few people, because I assume most people thought, oh, they'll still stick with the same sort of 2.5D style they've done previously, almost like side-scrolling platform, and now they've gone from more of an isometric 3D. I wouldn't say Souls-like, but action RPG sort of.
Yeah, that
game.
was the one interesting thing. Like exactly, they were saying in this interview part that they are trying to do this like connectivity.
Have we lost
like
it? There we go. You're back.
I think Dark Souls had it, and Demon Souls as well. Like that, there is this kind of linking of the areas in this kind of like the classical,
Yes.
like get the
maze-like situations, which always forces you back upon yourself, and it keeps that what's it called? The levels more. There's always more to explore, isn't it? You open up a subtle alternative paths to try and get to see more of the level that you would normally do. So they've kind of taken that ethos, and I think I think when I was watching people play the demo, you could see that they've gone. But I think they had that with. I think, am I right, VJ? They had the something similar with Ori in terms of paths and alternative paths linking back on each other. Is that right?
Yeah, I would recommend if you are going to, just on Masuko's point, if you are going to play, you can play the first one, but the second one really hones in and perfects all of the ideas. Will of the Wisp perfects all the ideas in the first game, Ori and the Blind Forest. But to Removable's point, I mean, I can only go Removable. They call it like Metroidvania. So if that describes what you're saying, then I guess it's right. I'm not so familiar with the genres these days. There's so many of them. But what I like about these guys, very similar to Team Cherry in the fact that I think it was about a year ago, Removable. I may be wrong here. It's just something you mentioned, the fact that this game has been in the background for them to make, because it was about a year ago, I think I read that they wanted to make a 2D game to make their Mario, and then they wanted to make their Zelda, but at that time they hadn't announced or anything or any ideas of what they were making. But if you've watched the dev interviews, Masuko, you know that this game has been in background on their internal design wiki, where they've been filling in ideas for the last 10 years. No different to Team Cherry, who are making Silk Song, but I think they've already filed a name, copyright name for their next project. Again, they've gone on record and said, look, we've already got this idea. As the ideas come, we just store them away on our internal wiki and over time refine it, right? So what I like about this studio, what Remu was saying, is that they're very clear ideas in terms of the games that they're currently making, the games that they want to make. They're not trying to force anything. They're very conscious of the fact that there's a lot of preparation needed in order to tackling any type of new genre. And it's very interesting because, as I said, I just finished playing Divinity when I saw this trailer, and also there's a sequence here in the video that Mr. Stubbs was running, where there seems to be like there's a character wielding an axe, and he's attacking some harpies, and there's these sort of zombie-like gold sort of tinted zombies, attacking you.
Yeah.
And it reminded me so much of the camera angle and the system and the characters. I don't know if you play God of War 1 on the PlayStation, where it opens up on the Aegean Sea and there's a storm going, and there's these zombie-like, very, very reminiscent of what these guys have got in terms of zombies, attacking you with swords and stuff. Just that these are colored gold, and also just a few minutes in, you fight. Kratos fights these harpies, also looking very similar to the ones in this game. And just on the art style that you mentioned, Masuko, it looks like a really high-end rendered version of Vanillaware, especially a couple of these still shots in terms of Vanillaware style of visuals. And but they've talked about this guy on the left, the one with the red scarf, talks about his influences in terms of the creative decision in terms of their art style is from like you said, visiting museums and looking at the art techniques and the visuals from several hundred years ago. And
I think they're not afraid to wear their inspirations on their cuffs.
Yeah, that's their inspiration. It sets them apart. Much like Okami, right, from Capcom, set it apart from lots of games back in the day. But yeah, I agree with Removable. There's very few developers out there that have their signature that you can tell their games from apart from others, and in terms of personality and charm, and the way that they look to enhance what's gone before rather than just copy and paste or mimic. Because at the moment there's lots of games coming, but to some degree they're all sort of dueling each other, fencing each other but this for me again this one was it Exodus removable from the Game Awards were the two games that stood out to me in terms of
I think
these
so,
look
yes.
yeah, these two look really different to everything else because after a while you see all these trailers and it becomes a blur. But
It becomes a as you said, a sea of colours that you've just basically seen too many times before in some cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the game is for everybody, but it's definitely for me because like removable, I really enjoyed.
And it's
Elden
3-player.
Yeah, it's co-op as well, and you can go off and do your own thing as well, and come back. I'm assuming so. That's pretty amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. Everything they've shown so far looks fantastic.
Yeah, I think that they are. It's like I cannot really imagine like what it takes to be able to do this kind of style with like 3D models. It really takes it to a new level of like finesse. Like normally this kind of thing is not possible. I mean, like when you have like a dark game, it's like so easy to get like a muddy look that so many things get lost in the darkness. But I think that
I removable. You might know better than me because you load videos up to YouTube. But can I just reiterate is that when I see Ori like on the screen that Stubbs is showing, right? It's nowhere near in comparison.
What
in
happens
terms of
is
when you put it on your own screen on your TV screen because everything in Ori on the screen here looks I don't know if it's the compression or whatever, but
it is a compression rate. Yeah, it'll be compression
it's
also.
compressed.
Yeah, so
it just looks amazing
on YouTube. On YouTube, it compresses it. You'll never get no better look than playing the actual game on your TV. Then you'll see the real graphics, the real, style, the whole show. But yeah, it does compress it, make it look worse than it should
plus
be.
most things are still in 1080p rather than 4K.
Yeah, a lot of these videos I've got 1080p 60. The stream's 1440p, but yeah.
It's because of the data. The data amount itself is just at 4K. It's just I think it's treble of that of what a 1080p video is.
I've never tried that, so I'm not going to try it.
It is a whole huge more thing. Now, obviously, 4K would look a little better, and it would give you a much more crisper and sharper clearance. But even with its 4K, it's still compressed to a degree. So that's why even you can see with like the actual developers, they're not. There seems to be slightly off in some cases, and I think that's part and parcel of it.
Yeah.
The other thing I just wanted to say to Masuko, you don't have to play it, but just load up Will of the Wisps and just watch the intro, walk around a little bit. There's two things you'll find. One is that you'll see how much better the visuals look in 4K running at 60. I think Ori runs at 120. I think I heard Removable mentioning or Stubbs. And the other thing I would say to you is that I know Prince of Persia, got some very good reviews and it has some fantastic ideas in there that I haven't seen before that I thought were very, very clever puzzles and designs, etc. But one thing I will say is that the way that this game plays, Ori plays in terms of gameplay and mechanics and how quickly you get familiar with all the controls, how the controller layout, the pacing of when new mechanics come into play based on your progression is something to behold. It took me all the way back to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. It's that slick and smooth, and it's all timed to perfection with the animations and the gameplay feedback in terms of the animation and pressing the button. And even if you spend 5 minutes with it, that will give you an idea of the caliber and pedigree of the developer. Step in Removable because I might be digging myself a real big hole.
No, I think you're right. I think obviously their first game. I think their first game obviously showcased what they were aiming for, and they obviously clearly pushed beyond what they were aiming for. And their second game was just a refinement.
Beautiful.
of that style, standard, and crisp and quality. And obviously, as VJ is saying, it will probably give you the best indication in terms of the crisp and quality of the visual art style, but also we would assume, like obviously you have to assume, if we would go with a bit of an assumption here, but also in terms of the capabilities of the actions in terms of the controller movements, and I suspect they're obviously going to be just as quick and crisp and clear with their visuals as they are with their
Second nature.
stability. Yeah, stability of their of the controller actions. So that will probably give you the best, clearest picture of what this game is going to be like. Now, obviously, we're guessing here because I don't think anyone here has played the demo. Unless, of course, you have got it on Steam and you have played it, that would probably be the best option because I think you can play this. This is it. You can play the demo on Steam.
I don't know if the demo is available. Obviously, early access is in less than a month, but
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
in a month. But I think the demo was for these for I forgot what influencers.
Yeah, there'll be
yes.
there was a code given, and I think it was literally, I don't know how long they got to play it, but I imagine it cut off at a certain point. But
it gets to the point where it gets to oh god, what's the actual town?
I did watch some videos, but not all of them.
Comment.
I didn't want to spoil it totally for myself.
No, it's actually to be honest, it's actually it was one of the more well done. I would classify it as a demo. It is probably more. It's one of the more well done demos where it gives you enough to pique your interest, and at the same time pushes you to want more. And that's exactly what a demo should do. It should pique your interest, but give you some idea of what's going on, but at the same time leave you wanting for more. And that is a very hard thing to do. And I could see a lot of players that did play which is obviously going to be the alpha now coming out. They were wanting more, which was a great thing to see.
I was just going to say removable. I think it has like the story narrative in the beginning, and then obviously the character that you've built, washes ashore after a shipwreck, and that's
right,
exactly how Divinity starts.
Yep.
It's quite. That's what I just saw so many similarities.
They did say Divinity was Divinity was one of its influences. They did state that was part and parcel of it. So, they have. That's what I said. That's where they've allowed their influences to be shown. They don't hide their influences. They go, look, this was clearly an influence, and here's our take on that sort of thing. Here's our version of that. So yeah.
I think it's really, really bold. People saw the character design screen, didn't they? And they were saying, these are strange, body types and shapes. And I thought, to me, I had a smile on my face. I thought, wow, that's impressive. That's brilliant. And even though the body shapes are kind of strange and obscure and almost alien, I thought that the feminine features for it's very feminine influence in terms of the way that the male and the female characters come across. It's a very feminine touch. I don't know who the artist is, but even though the bodies look a bit weird, I thought the facial representation of the various characters and the way that you can modify or create your own character, I thought it was quite beautiful. But it spoke to me anyway on that level. So I don't know what you guys thought, but
it immediately reminded me of the Monkey Island games. The third one had this kind of art style. I mean, like the body proportions.
Well, actually, I was going to say, if you're an old gamer like myself, those who would remember Brink. It's a very similar sort of because they're like, it was like gorilla-esque sort of type style, humanoid characters, and Brink was exactly the same sort of style, where it was like almost this huge top-heavy chest but very small legs, and big bodies and sort of thing. And that's one thing I did kind of look at. It's like, oh, hang on, Now, I don't know if Brink was their influence. It could be that other more modern games were picking it up. But yeah, for me, it was like, ooh.
It may look like rough and gruesome and everything, but there's a soft, delicate nature to their artwork, isn't there, as well? Especially the facial feature and the way it's rendered. It's quite impressive. I should say, quite unique looking for me. And to Masuko was talking about the view of the game, the camera system that they've employed here. I mean,
the isometric styling.
Yeah, it just they don't have to build the assets like a traditional video game. Perhaps some of them they do need to, but because they're controlling the camera angle, much like God of War, because they
It's
don't have to
more
worry.
curated. Yeah, it's a more curated way of telling the story. So even from here, if you look at this, you can see I wouldn't say your view is limited. It's controlled to what's the best situation for for you per that path. It's there to tease you that there may be something else, but at the same time, it's there to tell you, look in the background. You can go there. How you get there, though, that means you need to explore more.
I just think that from a technical perspective, it's a lot less costly. They can put far more.
Assets wise, it's going to be You're not. If you have it like a first person, you've got huge amounts of distance to try and draw in, pop in, stuff like that. It's going to be much more. Excuse me. Data. It's less data heavy. Is what I'm thinking of in terms of, which means they can focus that now on the better art style, the more easier combat. It's exactly that.
To get it to look like it does. They've just made a very, very wise choice in terms of using their budget in areas where they can really how can I say, reach a higher level in comparison to other companies, right? They've spent it wisely and given it to the people in their team that can show off what they're really capable of. The other thing I will tell you, Masuko, is that this is the first game I've seen where they use voiceovers, and I thought the voiceovers were really impressive, impressive. And secondly, is that it'd be really interesting how well they now tell stories, because Ori Will of the Wisps, the last one, their latest game. Before this one, it has no voiceovers, but the dialogue and the character animations and how it lays out the whole story for you is quite fantastic. I haven't forgotten it.
It didn't need to, did it? It was there was subtle features that still managed to tell you the story regardless of what it was.
Beautiful animations.
It's much more traditional, to a degree. But for instance, in terms of the camera view, look at the lighting. You wouldn't probably be able to do that lighting at a larger, wider space, not to the degree of finesse of what they're dealing with. I said it feels like a much more curated story. And I think Ori kind of had that as well, because it was literally, you think about it, as you was playing through it, you could only see from the screen's point of view, you couldn't see too much of in front of you or behind you in that regards. And so it was a much more curated thing, and I think they've kept the same sort of ethos here.
Yeah, absolutely. I just I don't know what your overall thoughts are, Masuko, but it's the one game that kind of what do I do about a PC? And I think I mentioned last week I was gonna beat my nephew up, so I nick his PCs. It's super powerful. And,
so you could play the alpha.
I think so. Remove. I've never actually done sort of early access or whatever it's called, and while it's in there. What I think Luke sent me an update, or did I send it? And they were just saying, look, the actual early access is for 3 reasons. One is for balancing bugs, and there was one other thing which made me feel that they've worked on this game really well. It's pretty solid, but given the overall ability in the game to really use so many, like Elden Ring, right? So many different weapons, magics, so many different enemies that you can come up against. where they've obviously invested most of their time and resources in, which is, we all love options and quantity and volume, right? Because
I got
to
it.
keep us engaged. So I'm glad that it's those three things, and I mean, I'm only hoping here. I'm not saying it will, but it gives me hope that the game perhaps will come to consoles sooner rather than later. It just seems like it's
My gut feeling is it probably is. Yeah. To be honest, I think this is what we said previously in the the other last week's conversation. I think it made sense for them to push it out onto Steam and PC because generally console to PC has really bad ports. In general, I'm not saying this company does it. I'm just saying generally they do seem to have a really bad time transporting or transferring across the game quality to PC. So by doing this, it showcases off that the PC community is going to be getting something as equal or even better than what the console is going to be capable of. And my gut feeling is maybe this is also going to be tying in with crossplay.
Maybe. Just do a few shout outs. Welcome to Godzilla Music. Thanks for popping in. And UK Dazarus. Cheers for popping in, lads. What I will say on that is I think you might have been on about the roadmap for early access, VJ, where it says launch Steam early access, update 1 multiplayer, update 2 the breach, and beyond further updates. Someone asked when it was coming to console, would it be in early access on a console? And they did actually reply saying console version will be when we hit 1.0 version, which is release, basically.
Yeah.
But I was interested to hear they talk about the multiplayer. Multiplayer could potentially be cross platform.
Well, definitely.
Which would make sense. Which would make sense to me. It must make sense to have a cross platform for all the platforms that it's going to appear on.
Nice.
If they can, it will do wonders for all platforms. To be honest with you,
it definitely.
You know, this game would be fantastic on the Nintendo Switch as well. Well, the new Switch, if it can handle it.
It would have to be a new Switch. It would have to be, yeah.
And the last thing I would say is, I don't know if you noticed it. I know we talk about user interfaces like Destiny is. I don't play Destiny, but the user interface for that, for God of War, for The Last of Us Part 2, but the user interface on here, compared to some of the other games I've been playing, it looks super smart, super clean. Really like the font, like the spacing. It's
it's
minimalistic,
isn't it? It's a much more minimalistic. It gives you what you need to know at the same time as not being over too.
Really liked it. I thought it was lovely. Really
on the screen. Yeah, it does look a much more reduced but crisper and clearer sort of situation.
Yeah, I do think that VJ snuck that I don't play Destiny in because he's now, after BMG normally catches up, he's now going to have a DM or a message on Twitter about him not playing Destiny.
No doubt.
or only Fools and Horses.
There you go.
One of the two.
I'm glad Masuko wanted to talk about it because it shows that we're not the only ones interested in it, and it looks really good. Can't wait.
I think if I just hope that I think they might have a good chance that the combat system will be the kind of that I would like, at least while watching it. So I think a lot will depend on that if I will enjoy this one, because I don't think that this is going to be that much story heavy game. Of course it has like some aspects.
Well, I don't know. From what the devs said, I think they will do it, because when they was talking about Sacrament, which is what they're doing now, they're saying as time goes on, more and more NPCs, more and more characters will start to develop and come across, and so I think the classic RPG was side quest. Well, they said they didn't want to go down. If I'm correct in myself here, I think it mentions in this trailer. They don't want to go down the standard classic, go fetch quests for your RPG characters. They wanted a much more. They wanted a much more personal experience with each of the individual NPCs, which were going to be populated and populate over time. Sacrament. So, as you're showing here, in fact, I think based on your choices, based on what you do, it's going to be a much more personal experience. So, I don't know. I think there will actually be a little bit more story into this than maybe what your usually is. And knowing how Ori plays out, they'll probably end up being a pretty good. You'll probably get the characters will be pretty good in terms of you're really what I'd say is warm towards them.
Ori has a very good story. Masuko Will of the Wisps has a wonderful story, one of the best. In terms of the breadth and depth of the story, I'm inclined to agree with Removable that it might actually be deceiving in terms of right now. In terms of what we're seeing, it might be quite deceiving in terms of the scope of the story and the opportunities that will arise, and especially because they're going to expand on this world as well from what we're seeing. So
and also, I mean, the trailer here does actually showcase off the fact that they also want you to build your own house.
Yes, that's a good point.
And populate it. So that would lean to me that Sacrament is going to be a home hub for more stories. It wants you to be fully engaged in that world. So the fact that you can start, building, crafting your own property in this world means you're going to probably end up spending more time here than you probably would say than your standard RPG home base hub world.
In your actual real home.
That's what I think they're trying to do. They're trying to make it feel like this is your personal home base, which you can craft to the point, your connections with the people around you in Sacrament is personal.
Removable. I was just thinking, what if you could actually even expansions in the world game expand, it does well, you can actually end up having your own family as well in the game.
So now you're going down the path of Skyrim.
I know I played Skyrim, so I don't know.
Yeah, now you're going down the path of Skyrim, and that can get very what's the best word of saying this? Challenging, and you can lose yourself very easily in that sort of level of detail. If you're going to go down the path of Skyrim where you can have families, you have children, you can have, pets and dogs and houses and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen people who are spending, thousands of hours just looking after their own kids in a game world.
500
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know. It may hit that level later on, but at this stage, I think it's just there to try and entice you to spend a bit more time within the home hub and engage with the actual characters around you.
It very well might be. I found out you could apply for a code, so I don't often try because I don't often do reviews, but the intention is not to do a review because you don't generally review stuff in early access. It's more of I said I'll feature on the podcast.
Preview. It's a preview.
But I've said I'll stream it on my channels, etc. And I mentioned the podcast.
But if you mention to them that you want the tutorial, they'll send it to you before you even ask.
They're very funny.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
But I did actually put what podcast platforms etc. are on as well when we talk about it. But I said that because obviously my subs ain't going to impress them, but you never know. It's worth a shot. They can always not give me it. I won't be offended. I'll still buy it if I don't get the code. But you don't know if you don't try.
As I said, you're going to have the early access anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I haven't bought the early access, But if I get the code, it's free early access.
Mm.
But you never know.
Well, I think early access is a good thing though, because
Yeah.
it gives you. You're going to get it at a cheaper
Make that
price than you would
tutorial.
normally anyway.
I can make some tutorials for people, and I can be done with it, can't I?
Exactly.
Thanks to everyone watching on YouTube and over on Rumble. It's good to see. If you're on Rumble, say hello. We don't bite. But no, yeah, Daz making references to me having a bald head and Easter. I like my bald head. No rest for the wicked. Is any more thoughts on this game at all, Masuku?
Well, I think like I like what I see, and I think like if it's just 4 weeks wait time and then try the early access, I can give it a go. So let's see how this will end, and I will try that Ori game to get a little bit idea if it's so slick controlling game. I think that might
Tell you what,
entice me even more. Yeah.
Judzilla's currently playing Ori. At the minute, he's in his Judzilla's currently playing Ori at the minute. He did it in chat.
Okay.
Which one are you playing out of interest, Judzilla? Because he said he's loving it, and I think he can't wait for this one as well. He just put Ori. He didn't say which one, but I'd imagine it's the second one probably.
Not necessarily.
But you never know. It could be the first one.
Yeah.
That's true. That is. Blind Forest. So it's the first one.
See,
Yeah.
told you.
Yeah. It is.
He's in for a treat with that one, and even in for a bigger treat with
Here
the
we go.
sequel.
The trailer.
Yep.
Where's the trailer? I've got some trailers. There we go. Even when you go back to, I mean, it's a really old game, but it still looks visually impressive. Yeah, I mean,
Well, they've
older-
updated it, haven't they? Every time they've made.
This is the original trailer. This isn't. Yeah, I mean, this
Yeah.
probably isn't what you're playing now. You know what I mean? They made a lot
No,
of
because
updates.
obviously they've updated to 4K. They've made lots more subtle changes to things, and really just
There was removal. You remember when we were playing Wulong and we saw like that they'd obviously been working on the game post-release for quite a considerable amount of time. I was really pleased because in one of the interviews, these guys said, "Look, when the first game came out, Ori and the Blind Forest, and then Will of the Wisps, they continued to work on those games based on feedback for an additional year. Making slight subtle changes for new gamers, etc." So. I don't think this is the sort of company, especially with the fact that who they've got helping them publish the game, are going to release something for the public to test, which is still extremely early. They've Take-Two aren't short of funds, and
it's a more polished one. I think. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be a much more polished situation than usual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you'll get a high-end polished experience. I think they've been working on it a long time. I think they want to get it right. And but I'd like to ask a question because I don't know the answer to this. Is this, when you look at this game, would you say it's like more for the PC audience or console audience, or now we're at just a point in time where?
Are you talking about Ori, or are you talking about
No Rest for the Wicked?
The Rest for Wicked?
Yeah.
To be honest, no, I think what they've done is, as I said, I think they've pushed it towards the PC as a goodwill gesture.
But also with the PC, it's in early access, and as Masuku knows, and many people know, the PC gamers, when you play in early access or beta, they are the most brutally honest people you could ever get feedback from. They take no prisoners.
I don't know. I've seen some of the reviews on Xbox. The Xbox reviews, they can be pretty brutal.
Oh, they can, yeah. But they're not known, are they? Really?
Yeah. But yeah, I think what it is let's face it. Let's be honest. Let's look at it from a marketing standpoint. Which has a larger player base? Xbox, PlayStation, or PC?
PC.
Well, PC. So you're going to get a bigger sample size, a bigger response, and a bigger, more curated response from PC than you will say would you get with PlayStation and Xbox. So it makes logistic sense in even just that alone to put it on PC first to ensure that that everything is hit. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's console. I think controller support is available on PC, so it's not as if it's not.
I haven't looked into that one actually. I don't know if they're doing it on day one controller support. I hope they are.
I think they have. I think if I remember
look.
correctly, when I was watching someone stream it, they were using controller, so I think they were.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm just gonna have a look on Steam.
Masuko, while Stubbs is doing that, I'm really now I'm super keen to hear your feedback, your in-depth feedback on your experience with Ori and Will of the Wisps. See if how I portrayed it comes across that way, or if I'm just full of the proverbial, shall we say?
No.
Speaking out of the buttocks, or was he telling the truth?
But Ori and the Will of the Wisps, try that one.
Okay, I will try it.
That's the more, I would say, the more polished of the two.
Yeah.
That's not knocking the first one. It's just it's the same thing with everything. Every iteration, further iterations being tweaked with a more fine tuning, and that one has more fine tuning to it. So that probably lends itself to a better compromise, comparison with the new game.
Yeah, and I don't know what TV you've got, or if you play on a monitor, Masuko, but for sure, as Removable and Stubbs will be able to tell you more from a technical perspective, because I can't. Is that for 100%? Is that what you experience on your screen compared to what we're showing you here, or what Mr. Stubbs is showing you here? Yeah, especially with the music, the visual effects, the sound effects, and obviously having the controller in your hand and being able to move the protagonist around. Yeah, a completely different experience. Chalk and cheese, basically.
Yeah.
And you could also play over xCloud.
Who would want to?
Yeah.
If you want to, yep. If you want to.
Yeah. But I looked and I hope it. You've seen someone playing on a controller fine. That's fine. Just Steam says it's only partial controller support, so I'm hoping that it doesn't really mean that it's full. I hope
that stops that. If they mention partial, it just means like some menus are not accessible by the controller.
Oh, I can always see the keyboard. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if I were to say so maybe like for instance, I think if I remember correctly, when the guy was messing around trying to do things like modify armor and add it to his character, I think certain menus like those were locked out.
They will probably in the end fix that. They probably will.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not fixed. It's just locked out of that part of the game because they don't want you to see that part of the game.
That's probably it. Yeah.
That's why it's partial, because you can't access it because they don't want you to access it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Removable. I don't know if many companies do this, but I can't say anything yet because I haven't played it. But No Rest for the Wicked. There's a couple of things that they're showing in a few very split frames or split second shots, which kind of, to me, have a nod to their previous two games, or especially Ori Will of the Wisps. So I'm really intrigued to play this game and see if they, have, what do you call it? Is it Easter eggs?
Well, as I said, will they have, like last year, will they have an Ori pet as an Easter egg?
I don't know if it will be that blatant, or probably more like Sonic the Hedgehog plushes to decorate your bedroom with the game. But I mean, like, little. There's a crow there which plays a significant
exactly. It could be a crow. You never know.
So really intrigued. Really smart. They're smart guys. That I won't put it past them. It's just that can we spot them? So, but yeah, it'd be very cool.
Yeah, high hopes.
What do we think? What do we think? I know Luke mentioned it last week. Cause, what do you think to Rise of the Ronin, Masuko? Why I find the trailer?
Well,
I
well,
found it. There we go.
that's a one that Viche has been like promoting
Tweeting over.
for good while. So I have seen like probably
And then Dragon's Dogma's coming out the same day.
yeah,
It is too.
yeah. I've probably seen every single marketing video that there is available of this game. So I think that this game is like I think that what they are aiming, I mean, like they are going against like Ghost of Tsushima, so people are going to like compare it with very high hopes, and I really hope that for the team that it's going to deliver that one.
I hope they
But
don't, to be honest with you. I hope they actually lean it towards the other games they've done, like Neo and Wulong. Because I think
yeah,
really hope they don't start compare. I know why you say that. I just hope they don't, because they are very different games in that regard. And even just from the trailer, I can see the clear comparisons between Wulong, for instance, and this. Its style is almost identical in that regard. The other one, it's a very different sort of combat system and technical aspirations. So I hope they don't. But yeah, I can see why people would think that. I think I'd like to see them probably move it towards the previous games they've done.
Yeah, I think it's like this kind of expectation thing, like but I think that it's also like a valid thing because people have seen like that there is quite a bit of story bits in the game. They don't they seem to be a little bit different how would you say they are not so maybe melodramatic as Ghost of Tsushima, or at least I don't get that idea. Like it seems to be a little bit like different style of storytelling with this one.
I think if you've played Wulong, this probably leans more to that style of storytelling. It, like, for instance, when you see them jumping over some of the buildings, and I don't know. I think it's going to be one of these semi-open world games where it's almost like a combination of their games previously and maybe what they're inspired by as well, sort of thing. Like this image where there's fire on the rooftops. I know VJ, me and you'd probably spot that already from one of the from Wulong, wouldn't we? In terms of its visual style and representation, it's like, there we go, recognize that.
I think what it is, Removal, is that obviously they've had the Neo games. I haven't played them, but there was demos on the PlayStation, and obviously played Wulong with yourself. I think that for them, the ambition comes from being open world and layering, the grappling hook and the combination of guns and swords, etc. And layering those elements of combat on top of the systems that they already have. So rather than sort of reinventing a system of gameplay system that already works, change the scenario, change the location, change the characters, change the story, and add in more features, and layering them up on top of something that's already been quite successful, and produce a brand new IP, and so that it doesn't alienate the fans of Neo and Wulong. I mean, I was quite surprised to see 5 million. Wow, that was quite impressive. I mean, I know that
it's not a small amount, is it?
No, it's a good number.
That's really impressive.
It's an impressive number.
Very impressive. And so you've got 5 million people there that are familiar with what Team Ninja and KOEI TECMO have had to offer from their many IPs in the past. So I think it's a bit probably, hopefully, this is the best hope, is that I can't speak to it from a technical perspective, but if you take like what we were talking about, Ori and the Blind Forest and the Will of the Wisps and the leaps and bounds. Not that the Blind
Yeah.
Forest was a bad game, that the fact that Will of the Wisps built on what Blind Forest was and went to another level. I think that is what Rise of the Ronin perhaps is trying to achieve. Again, I don't want to say it has or hasn't because I haven't played it. So, and I think their biggest challenge for this game has been making it open world and making perhaps the problem that we find with open world games is making side content really engaging, promising.
Yes.
And so they've got their challenges because it's their first main attempt, because most of their games are wide linear, right? So it'd be
I
really
would say
interesting to
they're
see
more. I wouldn't say they're. Well, I wouldn't say they're linear. I think they're just they're
super
arena
wide linear.
based.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were arena based. So it
Yeah.
was, yes, it was more linear. That it's not like as if it was like a go to this path, go to this path. You had a semi-small open world, almost arenas to work your way through, and you could go to any particular path you wanted to. But here, that I'm gauging is that arena, those small arenas are now either bigger arenas or one big semi-arena. And as you said, small arenas are much more curated. Bigger arenas are a very different beast to control. So
Yeah,
it'll,
it's
as you
like a
said, it'll be
redemption.
it'll be intriguing to see what they do. As I said, it's actually out this Friday, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
So not long to find out.
I try to. It's difficult because, like, I see Uncharted. That's sort of like a wide linear. It's not super linear, but it's wide linear. Then you've got games like Red Dead Redemption 2, and then in between those two, perhaps you've got games like Yakuza games, which are split between sort of Yokohama and Kamurocho, and then you've got something like Bloodborne, which, like you said, have got big main arenas, but all segmented off, and so on and so forth. So this one I think is their first open world game set in 2 or 3 different locations. I'm assuming you can fast travel between. I really don't know enough really to comment on it, but it's far more expensive than what they've made before, based on what they've shown.
I think it's what really frustrates me is that this is going to come on Xbox. It's a shame because I think this would look. It's a game that I'd probably be interested in actually playing. After playing, because my first experience of Team Ninja wasn't Neo, it was actually Wulong, and as I said, I really got into that game. It was something that me and VJ really spent enough time to play it, and even just like getting going back upon it when we was doing the complete edition. It was still enjoyable, wasn't it? It was still a much more thoroughly enjoyable experience, even going back to something that we'd completed. Obviously, they had more DLC and had certain things like that, but it was still a very much more enjoyable experience. Which some games are hard pushed to do that. Once you've completed it, you're like, that's all right. Yeah, might go back. You think, it's not the same. Where with me at least, it was. It brought back good memories, and it was just as fun as previously when I was first playing it, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this, see how this plays out. As I said, it's just a bit of a shame it's not coming to Xbox. I'd like to see it maybe like a year later, hopefully, or 2 years later.
I have totally missed out that it wasn't coming to all platforms. I
Yeah,
was
'cause
thinking like,
it's-
of course, it should be coming to everything because it's a new IP.
Yeah, it's published by Sony Interactive Europe,
Ah,
I
okay.
think.
Okay.
So
That's not to say that it may not come down further down the line.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's not.
And if anything, it might probably hit PC, like I think Neo.
There's
did.
currently no plans for it, but you never know.
Yeah, but you never. Yeah, exactly. Things change, so who knows? So for the PlayStation people out there, yeah, it's. I think they're going to have a nice time playing this game.
It's a
Yeah.
popular genre, isn't it? And a popular setting.
Well, it is
so,
now. I think it never used to be, but I think we've been clamoring for it for years.
yeah, and I think PC gamers are in for a huge treat with Ghost of Tsushima. It's a one of a kind Ghost of Tsushima.
Until they do a sequel.
Until they do the sequel. But Dragon's Dogma also looks good.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Where it's coming out on the same day, isn't it?
Mm.
It is. It's being released. Dragon's Dogma. There we go. Dragon Dogma 2 is being released on the same day, so a lot of people are having to make that
Well,
choice.
it's Friday.
Which one do they want?
Well, to be honest with you, this is going to be a. See, Dragon's Dogma is I would say, is your more traditional RPG. I wouldn't put that to Team Ninja's outing. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't. I'd say that's much more action RPG. Yeah,
Okay.
more action. Is it? I don't know. It's got RPG elements, but it's more action orientated. Where Dragon's Dogma, from what I'm seeing from the trailers and stuff, seems to be heavily RPG with also action involvement in it. So it's not as if it's like, it seems to be the Team Ninjas one is the Ronin one. It seems to be much more lighter RPG mechanics and more heavily focused on action storytelling. Where the Dragon's Dogma, I mean, the original one was very heavily on action, but also very heavy on its RPG.
Dragon's Dogma 2, they're very confident because I've looked it up and there's apparently a PS5, PC, and Xbox demo of the games. They must be very confident. I don't know if the demo's
when's that
still
coming
up.
out?
Well, it says on a Google thing to get my points, and it says, "Is download of the free Dragon's Dogma 2 demo now available on PS5, PC, and Xbox?"
I downloaded a demo, but it was only for character creation, which I thought was really good.
Oh,
But,
is that all
I
it
didn't
was?
see,
Maybe that's what
I
it
don't
is
know.
then.
Because I don't know how old your information is because if that
8th
came out
of
today,
no, 8th of March.
it might be
Oh,
that.
10 days
don't know.
ago.
I'd recommend anyone to check it. But both look really good games. I don't know what Masuko thinks, but they're both really promising. But obviously, Dragon's Dogma is available in all
Oh,
formats.
sorry, I've read it now. It says you have to wait a couple more weeks for a long-awaited sequel to the release. But if you wish to play about with your character creator, you can download the demo.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
There you go.
I did that already, yeah. And you can carry that across to the full game, which is really cool.
Oh, fair enough.
I
Okay.
didn't waste about 45 minutes.
Saints Row
Oh.
did something like that as well. Actually, which was their character creation sort of thing.
Yeah.
I do you know, it's one of those things. I think if you've played the first Dragon's Dogma, you know what you're going to get. Obviously, it's going to be a much more upscaled, much more refined experience. As someone who played the first one, it was actually, it came out right in the middle again of other bigger RPGs. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was Mass Effect. It came out.
Say no more.
And that was, yeah, exactly. I think it was. I'm not 100% sure. So if anyone's in the chat or anything who's listening to this, please tell me if I'm wrong here. But I'm sure it was up against some pretty big RPGs, and that's one of the reasons why it didn't capture as many people's imaginations initially because of that release date. But as time went on and more people bought it, when it was at a cheaper price and stuff like that, they realized how good it was.
Yeah.
And it then got its own cult following effectively from, people then playing it afterwards, sort of thing. And I'm assuming that they're going to be basically just almost ramping it up again on this sequel.
Do you remember? And this might be to do with like how I was thinking about Avowed as well. But do you remember a long time ago? I don't know when. Maybe Mr. Stubbs can find it. There was a demo that Capcom put out for like a trailer. I think it was called Deep Down or something like that. With Knights and Dragons. Do you recall that? It was a fantastic demo. Everyone thought that the game would come out. It hasn't, but
Okay.
this game, Removable, and how I thought Avowed would be potentially based on that Capcom trailer of Deep Down. I don't know if Mr. Stubbs can find it or
I
not, but
can't remember it.
both games remind me so much of that trailer.
I can't.
I guess no one remembers it.
No, I don't.
It's one of those things. It sounds familiar, but I can't quite gauge where it is.
If I can find it.
It's a pain. I'll probably recognise it the moment I spot it, but right now it's kind of like, ugh.
Was it PS3? Yeah,
I
it
just
was for
remember that one.
2013. It was out PS4 trailer, 3.5-minute trailer from Capcom. And there's another one in 10 years ago, 2014 as well. But yeah, it just seems like they may have taken the inspiration from that and then created Dragon's Dogma. I don't know, but I'll have to watch the trailer again. It's been a long time.
Possibly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there is big inspirations on this. It's Dragon's Dogma is all around dragons and Dragon's Heart and how it, so it'll be put it this way. It's one of those things. It's as with a lot of games now, it's stuck between some really hard and heavy hitters, and I'm hoping people will obviously lean towards whichever one they want to play. But obviously, I'm hoping that Dragon's Dogma will get it, get a bit of more of a recognition this time around. If that makes sense.
Yep.
But I think they won't know, will it? Is that when is it said that's out?
Well, it's out Friday, isn't it? Same
Is it
day.
out
Same
Friday?
day as Rise of the Ronin. I'm pretty sure it is. The same day.
I'm going to put is it okay to put the trailer in the chat, Mr. Stubbs?
Well, you're a mod, so you're fine. Yeah.
No, but I don't know if that sort of stuff is allowed or not. I'm not very familiar.
You
but
are if you're a
I've put it in
moderator.
the chat.
Yeah.
I've put it in the chat. Yeah, and I'm looking at it now. Yeah, yeah. You can kind of see where this is where I thought Avowed might be going in this kind of direction, and where I thought Dragon's Dogma reminded me so much of.
It's one of those things. It's gonna be. The trouble is with any just person who's who's got a family, who's got least amount of time. These RPGs are gonna take some serious time.
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh my god, it's like 100-hour game versus another 100-hour game. It's
tell
like,
you
where
what.
am I going to get time to play all this?
You talk about a segue. You talk about a bloody segue. You had one there for the next topic.
It is perfect.
That was the most perfect wording you used then.
Well, what can I say? I sometimes think about things.
Are we all finished on that Rise of the Ronin subject?
I think we are, yeah.
So I was asking Masuku in the DMs about anything he wanted to talk about, and he was just wanting to talk about subject probably doesn't come up a lot, about the fact that when you're an adult, you get less time, and if you've got kids, or you don't have to have kids, you could have commitments, helping family members, and so on. He just wanted to kind of talk about that and how you get around gaming, because sometimes you've not always got time for it. Maybe you could explain it better, Masuku. I probably butchered it, knowing me.
Yeah, I was just thinking like what kind of changes you guys have made, and has it affected like the genres that you want to play, or have you noticed any other things that are good for this kind of busy adults? Because I think I have said many times like the Persona games, even though they are like often like either close to 100 or over 100 hours, I think that the good thing about those games is that they have their day cycle. So you can chunk it into small bits, and you can digest it like in small pieces. So I'm thinking like that has been very good, even though it's a long game. It's very good for me. But at the opposite end, there is yakuza games. Like like I can end up like I'm playing happily, and then the story bit starts, and then it's going to be like
You lose
1 hour
yourself for
later
30
or more.
hours. Yeah.
It's unskippable. I cannot like save at the
Exactly.
moment, and
No.
I'm like, now I would have to be doing something else at the moment, and what do I do now? do I like just like
Continue or
start
pause it
later
again.
Yeah.
It's a meme, isn't it? It's like where it's like as a child you're like, oh, when I'm an adult I'm going to buy all the games I want, and it's like, now I'm an adult, I can buy all the games I want, but I just don't have the energy or the time to play them. It's a unique privilege to have, a unique problem to have, I would say, because we have games now that are 10 times, we get games much more regular than we ever did previously as a younger generation. We were, I don't know about you, but I was definitely used to like 1 or 2 games a year. That was it. And you would then play that to death. And I mean, when I say death, you would probably do it 3 or 4 times. You'd go through, you really would play it to death. Now our generation is having multiple games come out every week, and so
that's true.
we have a much more wider palette to choose from. And then obviously tie that into other commitments. It's a case of, well, the way I have kind of resolved it, I semi-resolved it mentally, is I'm not ashamed to say I haven't completed something, or I've paused a game and I'm going to go back to it, say 6 months or 8 months, or even a year, or even 2 years down the line. I have done that where I've literally, I've stopped a game, and then 2 years down the line, I've gone back and finished it off. And that's not always easy because you forget the control systems, you forget where you are. But I think it's an internal. I think there's an internal shame sometimes where you think, "Oh, I need to finish this. I need to do that," and I think sometimes that puts more pressure on you as an individual than say, And for me at least, I'm also in the unique privileged position that I review games. So my hobby has become potentially my job, even though I'm not being paid. It is potentially my job. And so that, again, it's another meaning. It's like, once you start doing something you love, it's kind of no longer your hobby. So that's another kind of facet, at least for me. So I've had to try and pause. What I do is I pause from gaming to give me that mental break too, because for me, because I'm playing and reviewing games on such a regular basis, you can get very jaded and very stuck into just a work-like mentality with games. And that's the one thing I don't want to get into. I want to be able to still just, I want that game that I can just play without thinking. I want that game that I can just fall into and just enjoy. In terms of time management, that is a very different situation for me, at least, because I've literally have 3 young children, and so my time management is when everyone's in bed. And I have a choice of, do I go to bed and have a really good night's sleep, which I've never done for about 20 odd years? Or do I end up staying up to about 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning and then having 2 or 3 hours sleep, which I've done for 20 odd years? So for me at least, it's my gaming time is when everyone else is asleep. That is not going to be the same for everybody else. I know that's going to be very different for some people, you know. And I think we feel guilty for it. I don't know, you know, that's what I've seen online. That's what I've seen from speaking to other parents. They feel guilty because I think, well, they should be doing this, they should be doing that. It's like, no, I think you should allow time or some time for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and allow some time to what I would classify, at least for gaming for me, is awaken your inner child, especially if you're a parent with children. It's you know, seeing my kids play. I've got literal retro emulators for my youngsters, and they're playing like the original Sonic, and I see their faces light up.
Very
and
nice, very nice. Good to hear.
And
Yes.
yeah, I haven't gone down the Switch or anything like that, or anything like that. Nothing online for my kids is not until they're older. But one of the reasons I also liked is that I want them to appreciate the older games, and also it teaches them, at least, which is for me, it teaches them patience. So patience is a virtue we got instilled with. So there is no saves. There is no. Now, even with emulators, you can turn on auto saving. You can actually tweak it so it does have those modern day. What's it called? Lifestyle. What's the phrase I'm trying to think of? Oh God. Ease of use. Lifestyle abilities. I haven't done that with those for my kids. I've let them actually just experience the frustration as I did. But what I've spotted very quickly is they've learned to kind of lean into it. So that's it. It's like, all right, well, I need to get good. When they're playing Sonic and they haven't managed to get through the level or managed being defeated by the boss, and they've got to do that level again, they're like, okay, well, I just need to do it again. You know, I think some of the things, and that's and for me at least, that's what I wanted them. I wanted them to kind of learn that patience, which I think modern day gaming doesn't have.
I was going to say, Remover, it also teaches inquiry, and I think it also teaches methodology. Probably a side component, but yeah, it definitely, parts of that, right? It develops those aspects of people as well, I'd say.
Yeah, and for me, actually, what it did is it actually ignited my fire with some of the older games. Strangely enough,
You mean those games that you didn't finish? Those games that you didn't finish back in the day, but 20 years later, you're going to make sure you.
That's all I said. Yeah. And because sometimes you feel, and I feel sometimes guilty for not completing games.
I'm just kidding. I was just joking.
Well, no, I'm saying it is a good thing to say. That it's one of those things. Is just pick up those little things because I have actually gone back. I started playing the original Sonic with my son again, and I remember it's like Jesus Christ. I remember playing this when I was so young.
BMG's Christmas card list then.
Oh yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things that I can appreciate those games a little more as well now. Because I'm seeing it through the childlike wonder of my children, and at the same time, we as adults we've kind of lose that. The world jades us a little bit because we've got commitments, we've got other things going on, and so we kind of lose that potential, that wonder. And I think sometimes, as I said, we should be just, don't feel guilty for not completing a game or going back to something,
I don't.
A couple of years later. Yeah, in case of Stubbs, there is no such thing as completing a game. His talent is, tutorials.
No, he flies in the face of completion.
But it's one of those things. I think everyone's going to have their own version, their own micromanagement of how to deal with games, how to deal with as an adult, how to deal with it, and what works for me will not work for everybody else. Clearly that's something that I have had to personally progress. But I will say is when you stop being self-critical about yourself with the games that you're playing, and just are able to enjoy it, it does feel so much better. And don't be afraid to go back to your roots. Do you know what? I'm going to play a little bit of an emulation or something. I'm going to go back to an older game. I think sometimes we feel, as adults, we feel pressure to complete something. It's part and parcel of our work ethic. We've been told we need to finish something, otherwise we don't get paid.
Yeah.
And so we've taken that ethos and we've then transferred that ethos to gaming. Where in reality, gaming wasn't like that. It was just, it's a game. Do what you want.
Well, what do you think about removable sanity and stops as well? Like, because you are like content creators. Like, do you think like when we get older, we need something additional to the games that it makes it more worthwhile, or it feels like more like that there is more to it? Yeah.
See, my point on there, I don't feel bad because when not to that question, but I will answer you on that one. The previous question. My son plays Xbox at night anyway, but we have actually limited that recently. We have actually limited it to, because I caught him up one night at Fortnite when my wife got off work at 3 in the morning. So we have curbed that massively. We have. Because he enjoys Fortnite and Roblox, and he's really good at Fortnite, and I play with him. And when we do well, I'm great. But when we die because of me, he'll come through and tell me what a noob I am and why I should be better. But I wish I got him into more of the retro games, but it's a bit different. All these friends you see play it, Fortnite, and his cousins, and they all want to play Fortnite. And it's not so much. The problem is, it's like he gets the battle pass crew once a month, and then like they bring out these skins they want, and then they want to buy them instead. But you can earn them, you see. But he wants us to pay to bump the levels up. Yeah.
Well, that's a task on hand to try and this is just society in itself.
Yeah.
I think with the loss, well, we've become a much more easier society. So everything's easier now. Digital, easier. Payment, digital with a card, easier. And so other aspects of our lives are all through the internet. Easier. It's a much more easier. Our transactions, our purchases are all instantaneous.
Yeah.
So we've kind of lost the meaning.
Because I said to him
money.
when I grew up, I says all the games. I says you unlocked all the skins. All these skins here would be free. You just have to keep playing. But I said these skins are. Okay, I've bought you the battle pass. They will unlock. The season's 3 months. Oh. But I want it now. Keep playing it more then.
Exactly. That's the instant gratification aspect to it. And this is a task which every parent's going to have to try and waddle their way through at some point. Is how do you teach your child the value of time, the value of persistence, the value of going through and getting something without spending. And I think that's the thing. I think in the case of that, maybe it's understanding the price of the battle pass for your kids. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, right, battle pass means you have to clean your bedroom 60 times.
Oh yeah.
Once they've locked it into that, it's like, oh, that skin. You want that skin? Yeah, okay, we can get you that skin. You have to clean your bedroom.
Oh, he's been told he's not supposed to have any more for the rest of the month because he had. He had we bought him some because he was being good recently, really good. He'd done well at school and stuff, and yeah, we bought him some of the they got Star Wars at the minute on Fortnite, and he bought some of that, but we gave him £17.49 worth of V-Bucks. But we said once it's done, you're not having no more till next month. You know, but
I think what removables you should parents should invoke a little bit more of quid pro quo rather than and let them earn. Give you something in exchange for them to. I think it's a good idea.
It is a good idea. We're working on it. We are.
It's not as obviously it's not as easy as just say that every child's going to be different, so it's not as easy just to say, oh right, okay, you have to clean your bedroom 20 odd times, and they're going to do it. There is a little bit of a.
There's plenty of tasks in the home that can be done, but they're also indirectly they're also learning opportunities because if they do head off to university or do end up living abroad or on their own. They're not at a complete loss. They've learned some valuable life skills at the same time.
That's true. But with regards to another question Masuku asked, like back in the PS4 days, because I got Xbox One, as everyone know, and I got rid of it because I didn't like it because there was no Gears of War at launch. And I went to the PS4 and I got into Destiny because all my mates were into Destiny. And the game I struggled because I had very young children was to play Destiny and be in clans. And I struggle with that, but I don't play them anymore because if my son comes to get me, I'm knackered. But I basically play like Yakuza. I play single player games most of the time, and I play Gears of War for Microsoft reward points. But yeah, I play more campaigns, although I take a very long time to complete them. And sometimes I just move on. I can't be asked. But that's the kind of games I play these days. I'm making it my goal to try and complete more, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Don't press yourself. I think, as I said,
But that links in. That there links in with social media because we are content creators, and there are content creators out there that complete 15, 60 up to 90 games a year. It's well known. Like with content, I used to be focused on trying to, get 1,000 subs on YouTube, etc. I'm not really. I would like it. Don't get me wrong, but with the way this podcast is now, I've evolved over different podcasts, and this podcast is more. It's no pressure. I come up with some. They're not even questions. Just like we're going to speak about this, and see what everyone else wants. There's no pressure. It's like if I have to go off and one of the kids, I need to get them something. Like removable and VJ would take over. If he has to disappear and VJ disappear, vice versa. There's no pressure on the podcast that way, and that's the way we've molded it into that way. But I don't feel pressure with completing games as regards to content creation. But some creators do because they put it on their Twitter for that much clout, and the problem is on Twitter there's that much, which I found I'm trying to use Twitter less because it's better when I'm not on Twitter because I can't see all the rubbish on there. Your tweets are fine, Masuko, and a lot of the people that are in our community are fine. Just that somehow it still shows you crap. It does. And it is better when I take a break from Twitter because a lot of the time, when you go on about the need to complete games, you get FOMO off people playing them and this looks good, and they complete them because then you find out some of these people are actually retired and they've got all the time in the world as well. I'm not pointing at certain people at all, but there is people that have got more times on their hands or their jobs more around the clock, or they haven't got kids or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's you shouldn't be pressured by anyone. Just do what you want. Really.
This is the thing. I think this is what I said. I was saying it's sometimes it's society that puts the pressure on you to say to complete something. Remember, as a job, we're told if you don't complete something, you don't get paid, and so therefore that ethos can carry over into the gaming world. Just by spending so much time working, you do have that ethos of you don't complete it, you don't get to do it. And then if you don't complete a game, you're like, well, should I even bother trying a new game? You've got that
Yeah.
mentality already set up. And we never used to have that as children. It was like, all right, we'll just take our time. I
Also,
won't play today. I'm going to go outside and play with the swings and throw a stick at something. It was
from I have as well is well, I have Game Pass, you see, and the problem is there's too many bloody games in it, which shouldn't really be a complaint, but it causes a problem. What do you play? Should I keep playing this? There's new games come out. There's this new game. Should I check that out? It's too many games.
Yep.
Honestly, on my Xbox, there's stacks of games on there in Game Pass. I ain't touched any of them. They just sit there in the tiles. You see what I mean? It's that
reminds me of, listening to you, Mr. Stubbs, and to you, Removable. I haven't heard from it's Masuko's question, but I haven't heard from him. But it reminds me of a quote from John Lennon. It kind of ties in, as in life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. I remember he said that a long time ago. I think it was him originally, but yeah, I think it's still pretty relevant today. Can I say that? Yeah, it's still pretty relevant.
Yeah, I would say so. But I think we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Always tech removal, because I do say a lot of silly stuff.
Yeah.
Not
You don't. It's all good conversations in there. A lot of people enjoy this show. All the guests, everyone who comes on the panel, never had any complaints about the show.
Yeah.
Well, now you said that, you bloody well will, won't we? We'll get a whole load of complaints. Yeah, well done.
I'll go for Rumble. I'm going to say, fuck off. On Rumble as well. But you could
there's another saying as well, which Removable reminded me of, in terms of don't feel sort of pressurized into finishing games. What's that one? It's something to do with attention in itself is a limitation. So yeah, you shouldn't feel, which is true actually, which again is another way to express what Removable's saying. I'm just here today to sort of condense Removable's
my long-winded explanations into a much more bite-sized, specific format. Yeah.
But also, I forgot to say something earlier. I don't know if you've seen it, VJ, but I'm sure Dad said that he'd finished Rebirth.
Interesting.
Earlier, so
he'll probably review that, so he'll be able to kind of mention that then.
I'm sure that's what he said.
Is that something
he did?
Masuko, you're playing? Is that you playing that, Masuko?
Yeah. I am playing that one, and then Infinite Wealth, and then I got the Unicorn Overlord. So I'm not really.
Jesus Christ.
Like.
Wow.
I wonder if you're feeling stressed.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, what's the 3 most intense long-term games I could possibly? I want at least 500 hours per game,
right.
And I've only got 2 hours per day to try and deal with it. Yeah, let's try.
Do you have a notepad, Masuku, for when you play Infinite Wealth? To remember everything you do. Do you have a notepad?
No.
To remember stuff.
No. It's like. It's pretty crazy. It's that game, like the previous game, was very story heavy, but this game is another level. It's like there's so much story.
I forget
like
stuff.
Crazy.
And Miss VJ said you should write stuff down. Because my reason I was getting stuck on the.
VJ's dealing with it. Yeah, he does.
I was getting stuck on the bulldozer, and Masuka couldn't work out why. Because I forgot about the lady that sold the armor. That's why. Forgot all about her. I did.
Masuka, I mean, look, I've heard about the term self-abuse, but you are taking it to a completely new level.
Pretty massive games.
Yeah, I know. Like
Dragon's Dogma, just chuck that in there. Go on, you can do that too.
I always say that I should be playing the short games, the sweet.
You were at one point.
Concise games.
You did 1 year, didn't you?
It's not happening.
As long as you're enjoying yourself, that's the main thing, isn't it?
And just on that, just as Removable just said that, can you just, on those 3 games, can you just give us your sort of brief update in terms of how you're feeling about them and what your experiences without spoiling them too much? Because obviously I don't have Rebirth, I don't have Infinite Wealth, and I did play the demo, but I'd just like to hear your thoughts while you're on the show. That's okay with you.
So Infinite World, it's incredible game. I would say like VJ, if you would play that game, I think you would top your numbers of Elden Ring and what was the Zelda game that you played like many
Oh yeah,
hundreds of
Kingdom.
hours. Yeah, so it's incredible how much things there is to play, and it feels like nothing feels like that. It's like like
A chore or
shoddily
repetitive.
put there. Yeah, so everything is like quality, and it's like incredible. I haven't really get into the side stories. I have like maybe done like 10 or 20% of like very very small bits of side story, and I think it's like something like 60 or 70 hours that I have played.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah,
like
for that game, it's really relevant for us because Removable, Mr. Stubbs, and myself, we all thoroughly enjoyed Yakuza Like a Dragon. So it's really good to hear your take on
Not
Infinite
yet
World.
completed it yet, but I'm getting there eventually.
No, but you're enjoying it. That's why.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, yeah. For instance, I actually enjoy the Yakuza, but I was intrigued that you said you went down the more story laden path, and kind of not avoided, but left a lot of the side quests there. I can't do that. I literally feel I need to do everything, and so I end up in the worst situation where I'm like spending so much time with the side content, I forget about the long-term bigger content.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the the RPG and combat side of Like a Dragon. So I was thinking like maybe I finish the main game, then I start the new game plus and raise the difficulty and enjoy a little bit of the the rest of the stuff, because I think that they have upgraded the system. It has like more tacticality, and it has like it yeah I think like there is a lot of meat in this game. It's like incredible, and it's not like it's not like some other games would have it like very very like just for the sake of making the game longer, but it doesn't feel like that here. It's like
It's it's content in there.
You bought him
Just as enjoyable as the main content.
So like are you saying like is it as enjoyable or more enjoyable, the side content? Well, it's like I think that the side content is it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. I just haven't seen so much of it. And then there is like those the Sujimon Pokemon game that is there, and there is the like Holiday Island thing that you can do. So
you got the arcades as well to play.
Yeah, arcades. So it's what I enjoyed was the what was it called? Was it the Infinite Tower, or what was it called in the previous game? The one that you could like
be a businessman.
No, yeah, that was fun also. But there was that dungeon or the tower that you could like.
Yes.
Not yet been to that. I haven't. The dungeon tower thing. I haven't.
Yeah,
I've heard about it. I haven't been to that yet. Imagine you come a beast in there.
That's the part where you can really like put your
Spend
full
hundreds of hours. Yeah.
yeah,
okay.
like master the techniques of the strategies of the
Basically, you build your way up the
side.
towers up to the very top tier, and you have to be, I think it's something stupid level before you can complete it. It's I don't know, it's like level 300 or something stupid like that. It's you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
in, and all the characters are maxed out to try and get past the boss at this tower.
Oh right.
It can be done, but it's just like, yeah, it's in that itself is a challenge.
Masuko,
Yeah, yeah.
did you pay the extra $10 to, or did you buy a certain edition of the game so it included New Game Plus, or did you pay an
Yeah, I
additional
got
10?
the better edition because like
That's good.
it wasn't like an issue for me because like the previous game and Tales of Arise, they were the two games that I was afterwards thinking like, I really should have ponied up a little bit extra and got like everything. So I was
Interesting.
like thinking like going into this game that I would get anyway the the better version and get some of the extra goodies.
Yeah, no,
So
I kind of was a bit perturbed by the fact that they were charging a little extra, for New Game Plus. But by the sounds of what you're saying is that the volume of content that you're enjoying, 70 hours just in the main game, have I got that right?
yeah.
And then you haven't done
Yeah.
side stories, you haven't done side missions, you haven't done other engaging parts, main sub games, if you can call them that.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like a pretty hefty game, Removable.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I'm still perturbed about the in-game plus. Unless the in-game plus comes in with a huge amount of extra content, I feel it should have been part and parcel of
Yeah.
of
The
the
way
main
they've
game.
sold it, the way they've sold it to me is feel like I'm being penalized. It's like you could have done a
Yeah.
better job to sell it.
Yeah,
I mean, $5 for early access. Okay, maybe I could have swallowed that. Maybe I would have spent another $5 on costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like I think that the way that they tried to sell it and position it is it could have just been I think there was probably better ways
my
to do it.
gut feeling is it was a test to see how the player base was going to react.
Yeah,
Because when it
I
came
thought this
out,
might be
yeah, but when it came out, it was a lot of other games were doing that, and I think they were testing the waters. My gut feeling is the next game probably won't do that.
I don't know if this is right, but they did this for the first game in Japan only, I think, and I thought it was a Sega US initiative, but it wasn't. It was a Japanese initiative, and then they've done it worldwide. So obviously that test room talking about Removable went down okay in Japan.
What do you mean?
Well,
So
yeah, but
new
remember,
game
Japan is a different culture.
You're on about New
It
Game
is-
Plus for you use Like a Dragon.
Yeah,
They charge for New Game Plus in the UK and America. Just that if you bought it on launch, it was something like 50 cents. If you waited after a certain date, it was like $8.
Oh, yeah, because we got it in. I played it in Game Pass, you see, so I didn't really realize any of that.
Welcome, Indie Gamer. Thanks for popping in, mate. I appreciate it.
Any more comments on Infinite Wealth other than go buy it, guys? Or do you want to mention Rebirth at all, Masuko, while you're on?
Yeah.
Tease the hell out of the three of us.
Yeah. So yeah, VJ, you are going to love it, and I think like I can understand the moral dilemma of like feeling like being like milked out of extra money with this game, but I think that this is the kind of game that you are going to play like 200 hours.
Really?
I can totally see it. So it's not going to matter if you are going to pay $15 extra.
Yeah. No,
presumably that would come down in price the longer he leaves it anyway.
Well, there's always
Yeah,
sales. There's
yeah.
always sales as well,
Yeah.
especially there is.
Yeah.
So
I'd
I
imagine-
mean, it's for me. It's still a little. I think it's for me. It still taints it a little bit.
I agree, Removable.
And it's just, you know what? It's because I grew up in a time where everything was included, and I've still got that mentality of everything's included. And then if there is going to be a DLC, it is a completely effectively separate.
I just put my
entity.
Leslie Crowther persona on, and then say the price is right. Now I'm going to buy it.
Yeah. I mean, but I said, I think this was a test. It was a test. I don't because of all the hoo-ha about it, kind of probably was like, and you know what's going to happen? The test is going to be is how many people will pay for it, and if they don't make money on it, and they lose money on it, they won't do it again.
Well, yeah, I think that the sad thing is like when I have been checking my Xbox, like when I check the achievements, like I see like nobody of my friends is playing the Infinite Wealth, so
yeah,
it feels quite sad.
Only person I could see on my list. You were.
Not that I have any friends, but I don't see anyone playing Persona 3 Reload after all the hoo-ha online.
Scott was playing that. He enjoyed it. Scott SX2 from Indy's show. He very much enjoyed that game. He did.
I mean, that I definitely need a notepad, especially with all the Persona creation combos and whatnot, and oh my god, and all the side missions. I definitely need a notepad for that. There's no way anyone can remember that stuff.
So we chase the fusion system, like still like pretty robust in that game.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and you can it's really really good. I actually think the setup's better than Persona 5 in some ways, but
because
it's just comparing it to Persona 5 really quickly. I thought that I'm playing an older version of the game. Is it going to be as good? Is it going to have the same sort of slick control systems and mod? And it does. It stands up in its own right. It could easily have been a sequel to Persona 5. I wouldn't have known the difference. That's the highest compliment I can give to Persona 3. But sorry, Masuko. It was just for stubs and for removal.
Yeah. No, it's just like for me, like the Persona fusion systems have got worse as they have progressed. Like the first Persona, it had like very good system, and it has had much more weight than the later games. Like it's like like I am really happy to hear that they have kept very robust system, and
I like the one in Persona 3. I really like the one in Persona 3 better than 5's.
Yeah.
But the 5's is really good as well. Don't get me wrong. It's a bit like the Blind Forest and Will o' the Wisps, like that, but not quite set apart, but close to. But I just prefer the Persona 3 one. I think it's really cool, and I like the way that is dovetailed into side missions and rewards. So it actually teaches you how to use it rather than just leave you there fending for yourself. So very very clever integration of a system that many games don't incorporate. Well, no other game incorporates, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the Persona 4 was the one that I was the most disappointed because it's like super easy. So I'm wondering, like, what was that the thing? Like, people really get easily into that game and they really love that one.
Maybe.
So
maybe.
yeah, it's like a trade-off for newcomers and older fans. Like, are you going to make some systems like really involved, or are you going to make them more simple?
I don't know. Persona 6, I guess that and Dragon Quest 12 are the two big RPGs I'm waiting to see now. Hopefully the end of this year in Tokyo Game Show, or perhaps next year. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. Hopefully they've learned their lessons from the Persona system. But did you play Rebirth at all, or is that not?
I have been playing Rebirth, but that's the one that I played the least, like compared to Unicorn Overlord and Infinite Wealth. So for like it's really interesting, like Final Fantasy games. Like when I'm playing them, I'm like the the battle systems, and I'm like, they have some kind of logic that I have never understood. and I'm like I really don't like it's like I really just have to put more time to it, but it's like everything
It's good.
about that game is like super high quality. So I
Mhm.
think I just have to get into the battle system because it
Yeah,
feels a little bit different and
yeah, it is. Yeah.
yeah.
I played the demo. I had to play it a couple of times to familiarize myself. But even when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake the second time around, I thought, oh, the first one, when I got to the end, I mastered this battle system. Even with God of War
Mm,
2020 or whatever it was, or 2022, I thought, oh yeah, I mastered it in the first game. And even Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I remember speaking on the show, saying that the
mm,
control system for it took me. I'm 10 hours in, and I'm no better for it. But it shouldn't take that long. But once you get
mm,
into the game, and I think there's an area where with Chadley where you can get into arenas and fight monsters inside of
mm,
VR mode and get rewards for it. You hone your battle systems in there, and before you know it, you should be pretty good. I mean, if
yeah,
Daz's review might perhaps
yeah.
hint on the gameplay, but if you're playing something like Infinite Wealth, it's not as demanding, right?
Yeah.
Because it's tactical thinking rather than an action combat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that
Or we're just
the
getting old.
systems it's like Final Fantasy is like a system based RPG. Like it's like which system should I like put against this enemy? Like which character, which system? Because it feels like it feels like the how you have a easier time against some enemies is like having certain characters and how they are doing the you know i- yeah it's totally different game. it's
Yeah,
it's it's a little bit like opposite like compared to Unicorn Overlord that has like very rock paper scissors
that's
system to it.
exactly. I wanted to say that because I played Unicorn Overlord and I thought the reviews are great, but to me, the game looks nice. The RPG elements are okay, but it really
Mm,
just is a rock, paper scissors game. And I thought I didn't want to say that to Misuko and put him off the game because
mm,
that's not my place to say. But
mm,
that's why I didn't buy it. I thought this is just basically rock paper scissors. It's a nice game, rock paper scissors. I'll wait till it's in Game Pass because it isn't going to do
mm,
anything on a what's that word? Intellectual level? Is that the right word?
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's not going to be the hardest like
Yeah,
strategy
intellectual
game
on a
out there.
tactical level. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially when
yeah,
it comes
yeah.
to the games that if you're saying to me that, or if you're saying to us that Infinite Wealth is more tactical,
Mm,
then that's already piqued my interest considerably because I loved Divinity for one of those key reasons.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. But definitely, I think that the rebirth is going to tickle your like challenge the most.
mm,
I feel. Of course, like Infinite Wealth, it will have the areas that are going to have like really high difficulty, but like in the general, uh, general areas and general enemies, I think Rebirth is going to be the more engaging one for you.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
So
remember I think Stubbs or Removable both mentioned at one point whereby you play Yakuza, then suddenly the difficulty peak spikes
Oh
all of a
yeah,
sudden. So
they've got massive
I don't know if they,
spikes there in
yeah. So I don't
Yakuza.
know if they've addressed that in it well or not, Masuko.
uh, there has been some, nothing compared to Majima, like from the first game, but
Yeah,
yeah.
imagine.
So let's see how it will go, and I am having fun. It's my kind of game. It's like can take your time, and I think that Rebirth will also engage me. It just takes more time to learn it and fully utilize it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
And
appreciate that.
for Unicorn Overlord, it's one of those games that even though the basic systems are pretty simple, there is like it's always a matter of optimization, like how much you are able to push it to really like steamroll the enemies.
Sounds like Mech
So
Warrior 5.
yeah. Yeah.
Removable might have a word to say on that, but I'm wondering if he's caught Stubbs syndrome and fallen asleep.
I'm not asleep.
No,
No.
Removable, I think,
He-
might have fallen asleep.
He may had to go somewhere, Sometimes
Mm.
happens.
He's probably gone
Yeah.
to Finland to check in on Masuko's game collection.
Yes.
Say, I'll have some
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And I'll take your
But
PlayStation as well.
Yeah. I actually picked up this Unicorn Overlord on Switch because it's the kind
Ooh.
of game that is really nice to have on handheld, and because that's one of the systems that has the best sleep mode for busy adults. So you can just push one button and it's like sleeping.
Oh, okay. Sleep mode.
So it's
Sounds good for
Yeah.
me.
yeah. So I can really stop at any time. I never had issue with that one.
So I'm kind of now tempted with Infinite Wealth. Once I finished Persona 3, and I'm also playing Okami HD at the moment, both of those.
Oh, that's nice.
Mr.
How
Stubbs?
is the
I'm here,
how is the
yes.
battle system in Okami? What kind of is it?
I could talk about it in depth, but let's just put it this way: if this game was made today, people would be raving about it, because I think a lot of the ideas, a lot of the concepts, a lot of the way that games are structured today, I think it's contributed heavily in terms of its design to modern day gaming. And consider that it's a game that's 20 years old. It's quite shocking, really. And if you're someone who enjoys or aspires to be, or has a predilection for design as you're playing a game, or someone who wants to be a designer, or just want to see, how some of the best designers from Capcom from 20 years ago are relevant today, who created and produced even games like Devil May Cry, right? Are the people that made entered off and set up Clover Studios for Capcom and produced Okami. There's a 300-page art and design book for Okami, which I used to own, and it had everything from character, monster, environment, level, combat, weapons, menus, and prop designs. Yeah, even down to how characters, would animate and move, and it's not just like finished artworks. It's everything from rough storyboards to rough pencil sketches for characters. But within the artwork itself, it just had so much style and animation and flow and personality built into those designs. So it's also got, as I say, initial storyboards and characters, but also there's like little text boxes in the artwork that you can see in terms of, this is the character, this is the village he will populate, this is his purpose. And the level of depth that it goes to, you can see that you don't need to be proficient with software to create a game. You just have to have good ideas, be able to put them down on paper. And I think that this art book is still available, I think, on Amazon. And I think there's a video out there where someone flicks through all the pages for about 20, 25 minutes. But it's incredibly insightful. And I think for anyone that's really engaged and wants to learn about game design, it's a fantastic product. And also it's got artworks from the game where they've used to create final promotional artwork. And as I say, it's 20 odd years later, and the game is still really beautiful. It's charming, and you can use any verbs that you prefer, right? but I think
Mm.
harmony and captivating, and most important for me, it's steeped in Japanese culture and folklore. And as I say, throughout the game, I expected something a lot simpler, but it's full of like unique characters and personalities. There's lots and lots and lots of humor in it, coupled with the folklore. And
Mm.
funnily enough, the reason why I picked it up, I woke up having a dream about a white wolf being caged and tortured, and then I thought, let me just see if Akami is available. And it was on sale for $10, and it was the last day of the sale, and so I picked it up. And also you get another character that sort of is on your journey with you, called Insu, who does all the paintbrushing, but doesn't
Yeah.
realize that you're a god. So
No.
it kind of just talks to you as a regular person, making fun of you and stuff like that, and saying, look, you've been asleep for 100 years. You should know all these things by now. Like trying to, like a strict school teacher. Really funny. But when I think on modern day classics such as Elden Ring, Bloodborne, God of War, and Hollow Knight, etc., it's just Okami just has so many ideas in it, and in terms of combat system, menus, and how rewards are tied in with side quests, and we were talking about that earlier. And it does it all to such an incredible level. There's only one or two things that it doesn't have in it, because it's a remaster in HD. That like in terms of being able to skip certain dialogue sequences and stuff like that if you're repeating a section, which you don't really need to do because it's not that difficult a game. But as I say, remember it's a PS2 game, and dare I say, if it was released today as a title from Capcom with a couple of mod cons attached to it, which don't really sort of derail it in any sort of shape, way, or form, and it came from an indie dev or from Capcom, I think it'd be right up there as a showstopper, based on our take on like how different, unique, and fantastic No Rest for the Wicked seems to be, like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
If Okami, as I say, if Okami was released today or coming soon, we'd be really, really sort of talking about it heavily on the show, and I'm sure other people, influencers, would be as well. But to finish it, it's just, for me, it's culturally sort of charismatic, and just a really beautiful game in all aspects. So if you get a chance, and well, you probably won't, the games you've got on the go, if you haven't, I'd definitely give it a go. It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Is Removable trying to talk?
I don't know.
I think he's got a problem with his microphone,
Oh,
because I heard some noise, and I think something's up with his mic. He hasn't messaged, but kept hearing some noise. I don't know whether his something wrong with his microphone. I'm not. Are you there, Removable? He was.
he's not shy to speak. He would have just jumped in.
Yeah, he would have jumped in. But I did hear something coming from his mic. I think there might be something wrong with it, or I don't know.
Did I talk?
Yeah,
did I talk to? Are you trying to say I'm talking too much about Okami? I'm sorry, Mr. Stubbs. I didn't mean to sort of talk about it that much.
No. What you want about? You didn't talk too much at all. We're just saying that even not removable, Indie Gamer could hear crackling coming from Removable's mic, and he weren't speaking. I think he was trying to jump in.
No, it's like, because we were talking about all these modern games, and I'm talking about a game from over 20 years ago. So
no, you can talk about what you like on there. You know how it is.
No, but I don't want to bore people to death. They've already played it.
No, I think like I have been like eyeing that game for ages. I remember seeing like a review of it like long time ago, but I think I saw the review for Wii version of it, and it was saying that there is that painting mechanism that you could use the Wii mode to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you press R1, and it goes into painting mode, and then you hold the square button to apply the brush to the screen, and then you use left analog stick to paint where all the different brush strokes that the game gives you as you progress through it, to combat different types of enemies, to paint the sun in the sky, to paint bloom, to bring trees and flowers and to life, to feed animals which reward you, which in turn you can exchange for increasing your life, your ink pots. It's all so well interwoven, Masuko. If I find that video on YouTube for the art book, I'll send you that first, because when you see that, that I think is what will push you over the edge to say, I have to buy the book and play the game.
All
It's
right,
very
all right.
inspirational. Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Hideki Kamiya is the director of the game, and I think
Ah,
a
really?
guy called Takayasu, who designed all the monsters for Devil May Cry, is the character
Yeah.
artist for the whole game. Yeah, or one of the character
Whoa,
artists.
it's like a dream team then.
Yeah, it was very much so.
Nice.
And
Nice.
obviously, when Clover closed down, half of them, I think, went to Level 5 and other studios, because it was in Osaka. And then famously, obviously, as soon as Clover was closed down, because of Inabar, right? He took Hideki Kamiya and he took Shinji Mikami, and then at the closure, they set up Platinum Games, right? And the rest is history. And Bayonetta came from there, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
I
We know
was
you love
just
a
thinking.
paintbrush.
Yeah, definitely. I was also thinking about like old Japanese game studios. I was also thinking about Namco Bandai, like that they used to make like many good games like before. Now it feels like a different kind of like entity nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, Bandai obviously makes up the majority of the revenues. The Bandai content, like Gundam, etc., brings in the majority of the revenues, right? And Namco's obviously Tekken's the flagship, and then obviously they have a working relationship with From Software, right, in terms of Dark Souls and etc.
Yeah.
So sorry,
And,
Mr. Stubbs.
No, so interesting.
Okay, you carry on, Masuko. I'll let Mr. Stubbs talk now, because I'm tired.
Yeah, what wasn't it like that they owned, like they used to own Monolith Soft as well, and then that was sold to Nintendo.
I'm not sure.
I can even move my crackling again.
But yeah. There is a lot of these old games that are really like have a historical and like really should play them like for just like to educate myself, and Okami is one of those.
It is. I'm just glad I'm playing it now. Versus haven't played it. I just didn't get a chance 20 years. I was busy, like you and Removable and Stubbs are now. I'm older than all three of you. So that was a time when I was busy and games were passing me by. And I think to Mr. Stubbs, there was about 5 or 6 years I didn't play any games.
Yeah, you did mention that. Yeah.
And as I started to get time back in my life, I started to play games again. And I never even used to play 2 games at a time, and now I do.
That's fair. Got time when you were working. You obviously didn't have the time because you worked some crazy hours. You did. Sorry.
I didn't. Being in the games industry, the last thing you want to do is play games. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
that's why I
don't
miss it. I don't really miss it being in the games industry, because I was just the intensity of working in that industry. It can change your outlook on life, the time you have on your hands, and also your personality, because it's just so intense. It's like a form of brainwashing yourself almost. That's why you hear people. You hear when people the jadedness, right, in their comments, and especially if you watch the the comments from the guys that the directors or the people that left what was it, Bend Studios, after Days Gone, they weren't exactly complimentary about their time in terms of employment, but I think that's their own issue, because they failed to realize that they were given an opportunity, hundreds of millions of dollars, to make a game which very few people in a lifetime get, regardless of how it turns out. And but people often only remember the last thing you do for them, right? If the last thing you do is fire somebody, that's all you remember, right? You don't realize the 5-10 years that they've employed you and given you the funds to create whatever you wanted to. So it goes hand in hand. And for me, as I say, I didn't want to play games when I was working in the games industry, but now I'm out of it. It's just like there's a sense of normality, if I can put it like that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is. I understand that. But I'm
Mm.
going to have to wrap it up there because we'll be going for hours a while. It looks like Removable's mic broke to me because I can hear him. I bet he's chomping at the bit. He's like, I bet he's going. He can't hear him. I think something must be wrong with his mic because every so often you can hear crackling, like he's trying to. I think something must be wrong with his microphone.
Put his mind at rest and just tell him once his mic's fixed by tomorrow, we'll do an encore for an hour tomorrow where he can just talk for 59 minutes.
Yeah, just do an encore for him. Yeah, bring the channel back up again. But yeah, no,
That's yeah.
It's been a fun show tonight. It has. Thanks for coming on, Masuku. It's always nice to have you on. You are kind of part of the show. You always let me know when you're free. You are.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be here, like having a relaxing time on Monday. You know, it's like normally like it's yeah. Normally it's not a good day, but you know,
that's why I really
joining
appreciate it.
the show, it's like a highlight for me.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. But it's a place where we can just talk about whatever you want to bring up. It's always good. It is. I set some topics, but we don't sometimes get to them. We sometimes don't. This time we did, and we added. We added more as well.
Yeah, it was really nice to hear your guys also take on like the busy life and how do you manage with gaming and so on, because it's like close to
it was harder to be fair. It was harder when my children were younger. Even though my kids are 6 and 9, my daughter really is by about 8 o'clock asleep. It's only my son that's about, and he doesn't really disturb me that much at all anymore. So he's got easier recently, a lot easier in that sense. It has, but it was quite difficult when they were babies. Obviously, I still did game then, but I did feel bad then when I was gaming. Do you know what I mean? When they're a lot younger. But it's a lot easier at the moment. It is. But yeah, so thanks for coming, Masuku. You can tell people where they can find your artistic pictures if people want to see them.
On Twitter you can find Meisuko_1984. So it's very, very nice to be able to put some art out, and it's like I think that art is for me like brain training. It's like you are like struggling so much to try to get something out, and you are thinking like what is going wrong, why is it going wrong, and how do I even fix it? So it's really good hobby for the brain, I feel, and I can really recommend it for anybody.
That's fair. My wife can draw, and she's very artistic, but she doesn't do painting, but she can. But she can draw and stuff like that. Really good, and she likes that kind of stuff. She finds it therapeutic. She does. When she gets a chance to.
That's true.
When she gets a chance to, that is. Not that she gets a chance very often, but she likes to. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Removable still try out. Thanks for coming on, Removable Sanity. Are you there? No. You can follow Removable Sanity on Twitter. You can subscribe to him on YouTube, Removable Sanity. It's also in the description. And if you look on Minds, it's also on a website called Minds. Search Removable Sanity. I'm sure there's something wrong with his microphone because you can hear a crackling. I think it may have broken. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Removable. And VJ, thanks for coming on as always.
Thanks, sir. I really appreciate it, and I just wanted to mention I saw a comment from Indie Gamer about a game called Nine Souls. Hope I've pronounced that correctly. And if he's still listening, just to let him know, I think I saw it a video of it running in one of his older shows or one podcast, and perhaps in one of his most recent ones as well, from a week or so ago, if my memory serves me correctly. And he's right, it has piqued my interest. So I'm not sure when it's out or if it's out. So perhaps if he comes onto the show or I chat to him, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. And no, thanks for having me on, Mr. Stubbs. And I think Masuko hit it on the head, because I think the show's therapeutic for me. It just brings back lots of memories and stuff. Last week's show was really good about Japan, and today talking about Okami and the history of it and stuff like that. I'll get that video and I'll put it in the DMs so you can see what I was talking about. And I'd like to hear more from Masuko when he's got through Rebirth. And yeah, Mr. Stubbs, it is therapeutic, and yeah, it does make Monday afternoons feel like Friday afternoons, if I'm honest with you.
No,
And,
it is fun.
and I'm really looking forward. I know I'm on it, but I feel like a fan almost, if that makes sense. But hopefully Removal fixes his microphone for next week. So yeah, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on. And I think your microphone needs fixing, removable or something. He's trying. So none of you lot can hear him at all? No, because I can't. No.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. It was just some.
You can just.
Yeah,
I think something
makes sense.
I think something's up with his mic. He must be able to hear us, but just we can't hear him.
We're gonna have to have a Wednesday encore for an hour.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. He won't be happy. Like, he needs to. He's like, he was probably chomping at the bit when you were saying this. I can't say something. But you can't hear him. But I can't go on all night. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in on YouTube. Indie Gamer, Paul S at the end. Fimber was in, UK Dazarus, Judzilla was also in. And thanks to everyone watching over on Rumble. I appreciate anyone who watches on any platform. But yeah, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye-bye.